Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be diving into a ship comparison between the Starlancer Tac and the Starlancer Max. Two ships at first glance that look like twins, but supposedly serve very different roles in the verse. Well then, hello there. Now before I get started, I want to give credit where credit is due. I've been inspired by Morphologis and his Architect Review series. He brings a fantastic and professional lens to both the architectural design of the ships as well as the breakdown within Star Citizen, and I really appreciate his perspective. That said, I'm not an architect. I'm not an engineer, but what I do bring to the table is a background in game design. And as someone who's been flying in Star Citizen pretty much since day one, I've developed a real strong sense of what feels right and what doesn't feel right, or at least to me. When it comes to these ships, I have flown quite a few, and I've seen a lot of the evolution of different ships, both from their original concept design to what we now have on a day-to-day basis. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at both the Starlancer Max and the Tac. And let's figure out what those two siblings have that really set them apart. At first glance, the Starlancer Tac and the Starlancer Max seem to be beasts with the same DNA. And some may even call them twins at first glance, and I wouldn't bat anybody over the head over that. The only major visual difference at first when looking at the two of them, unless you're looking at them side by side, is going to be those larger guns on the Tac. And for as much as RSI wants you to believe that their personalities couldn't be more different, the farther that we get into this video, I think you're going to realize that there's a lot of similarities between the two that RSI maybe wants you to pretend there isn't. That said, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Now first off, the Max was made available originally in Alpha 3.24.3, and then the Tac joined later in Alpha 4.1.1. The Max is intended to be a workhorse, a cargo hauler, built to move freight safely across the verse, although personally I'd keep it to lawful systems like Stanton, as the guns tend to be a little bit lacking in a firefight without a little bit of backup. Its interior feels spacious, clean, and you can definitely feel that there were elements of roleplay in its design as well as in its efficiency to navigate. If you really think about how a crew would live on this ship, a lot of the choices on where things ended up make a lot of sense. With its rear wide cargo bay and its ease of access drop down cargo bay, there's just enough living space to keep you comfortable on those long hauls while still hauling a decent amount of cargo, although in my personal opinion I do wish the side doors opened slightly more, as sometimes cargo can jam while trying to remove it. If we take a step over into the Tac, the story changes. Instead of a sense of utility, we feel more of a sense of purpose. The cargo bay has been replaced with a strike team drop pod bay, or however you would like to refer to that section as well as the heavy weapons platform that are the side turrets. You can really feel the reinforcements when you're looking around the bulkheads around the turrets, and this ship feels a lot more sturdy. This tactical layout and the whole way that the bottom level of the ship is laid out really feels as though it's meant for your combat units to move from one part of the ship into the other, and then coming back into the ship through the cargo bay and in through the medical, and on its way over to store their suits and their guns in the locker. It all really just feels cohesive. Now, one of the things that I'm not as big a fan as is the second level and how it's laid out. They feel eerily similar outside of the drone bay or the fighter bay, or however you want to put it, on the Tac. The Max and the Tac's second level feel eerily identical. And perhaps this is due to RSI wanting things to feel more modular in their ship designs and having the developers push in that direction. However, one of the big flaws between the feeling of the focus of the different jobs between the two ships, I feel, comes into the cockpit. They are identical, and I feel like one major way of making the Tac a little bit standoutish compared to the Max would have been having the Max have some kind of commander seat in the middle of the room, which is one thing that it feels like it's missing. It feels like there's a lot of empty space in the cockpit on both ships. However, on the cargo transport, I feel like this is a luxury. Space is a luxury, especially in outer space. So I feel like having that open space on the Max is no big deal, but having that open space in the Tac definitely makes it feel like it's missing something. In my opinion, the Tac should feel a little bit more like a gunship, and maybe that means bringing everything a little closer together in the cockpit, but I don't know. It definitely feels like it's missing something, whether that be a commander seat or some kind of console for somebody to be doing some kind of calculation for plotting direction or navigational, or even just a communications relay of some kind. It feels like something is missing from the center of the room, and it makes the cockpit feel a little too spacious, in my opinion, when it comes to a tactical ship. So when it comes to choosing the two, it's really about roleplay and what fits your playstyle. Do you want to move cargo across Stanton with efficiency and security? Well, then by all means, go ahead and pick the Max. Honestly, it's not going to be winning any dogfights, but it's going to be great for slinging cargo. However, if you think you're going to be running a lot of bunkers, or maybe ducking in and out of pyro, or any other future systems that are quote-unquote lawless, you may want to go ahead and pick the Tac. Or, if you're part of an org, you might decide you want to pick the Tac so that you can run support for whether it be ground forces in something like a Valkyrie, or running support for anyone who's running around in the Max running their own cargo. Honestly, it's a great support ship. Some of you may be wondering what my opinion is, and as a fellow player of Star Citizen, if I had to pick between one or the other, if I were to push all my other cargo ships aside and all my other tactical ships aside and just pick between the two ships, ultimately, I think I would get frustrated with the drop-down cargo bay not quite opening far enough for my liking, and a constant jamming of boxes for the reduction in the cargo capacity to be worthwhile to pick the tactical. Even if I don't think I'm going to be running bunkers with other people, there is so much storage space in the tactical compared to the Max with all the different little lockers for everyone to be able to use, that ultimately you can store an obscene amount of stuff on that ship alone, not including all of the cargo bay space that is on that ship. So even though it's a reduction in cargo space, even as a cargo hauling player, someone who runs cargo in Star Citizen, I would take the tactical over the Max. That's just my personal opinion. I also think it's a more versatile ship for, hey, what are we going to do today? Are we going to go sling boxes, or are we going to go take out bunkers? You can do either or with that ship. So ultimately, I do honestly think that the tactical is a better decision if you're going to be picking between one or the other. Now, that said, we're not talking about the price tag today, as that's not this type of video, but in my personal opinion, I would not pledge either ship. I would purchase them in-game with in-game money. I don't think either one of those ships is worth their current price tag as of making this video. And I think that there are a lot more versatile ships, and there are a lot better ships in that same price range. In any case, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope that you took something out of today's video. I know that a lot of times when making new content like this, things can be a little wishy-washy. So I appreciate you guys putting up with that while I kind of try to figure out how I'm going to make these videos going forward. Hopefully everything I had to say made sense, and if it didn't, feel free to ask questions in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them to the best of my ability. In any case, I will see you guys in the next video. Okay. If you want to tip your head back so that it looks like you're actually resting on the... There you go. Perfect.
And then look at the sheets. Tell me the sheets wrinkled where he's laying down.
It will when he gets up, though. It's definitely wrinkled on the... It started out normal, and it's crinkled on the far side of him like somebody was sleeping next to him.